behind. We've got folks behind the scenes that are monitoring the chat, so feel free to do that, send those in. And we are recording this webinar, so we'll make sure to have it available if you want to pass that along, because we're going to have a lot of fun, and I'm sure you might want to watch this again or send it to a colleague. And so we are ready to go. So welcome. My name is Mike Kurz. I'm the Director of Programs here at the Investments and Wealth Institute, and we love talking about our programs. We're so glad that we have this wonderful group of certified financial planning professionals on the line with us. You've been especially invited for this webinar to talk about, hey, what's next? I finished the CFP curriculum. I've been successful on the exam. I'm now certified. I'm looking for other things. I've got this thirst for knowledge, right? How do I quench this thirst? And so the Investments and Wealth Institute, we'll talk more about our programs in a bit, but we have a long relationship with the CFP board, and we're certainly pleased with all the great things that the CFP's done. I've been a CFP since 2003, went through the program in the early 2000s, and over the years have mentored lots of folks, and love seeing that curriculum and that program continue to grow. The number of folks that the CFP has pulled in and educated and continue to help serve their clients better. We're big fans. And we love the quote on the lot right here on the screen where Matt's saying, hey, my goodness, this is a way for me to express my commitment to the financial planning profession. And we certainly agree that rigorous training, the education, the ethical standards, right? Being held to that higher standard, and certainly that commitment to education, that commitment to knowledge, that commitment to ongoing training, the continuing education. And we've been doing, I've been doing my own continuing education for over 20 years. And so I love that it challenges me to learn something new and stay plugged in. And if you guys are new certificates, you get to have that benefit as well. You'll love it. The CEO of the CFP board, Kevin Keller, this is a fantastic quote with his leadership, and where he's talking about, hey, if a firm wants to gain a competitive advantage, they need to move from a loose or even a non-existent credentialing policy to a more thoughtful designation strategy. And we believe that professional development starts not just at the individual level, but at the management level, the broader firm level. How do you support folks and help them continue to grow in their knowledge base, help them continue to grow in the work they do, so that we can serve clients better, right? So we can drive better outcomes. We can help clients take actions that are in line with delivering the results that they need and desire, right? We talk about goals so much, but my goodness, are they really goals or are they promises, right? These are things that folks promise to themselves, to their children, to their family, to their spouses, to their partners. We know those commitments go way beyond just, hey, it's a goal, and maybe I'll hit it and maybe I won't. And having that formal education, those knowledge, skills, and abilities, you're going to hear us say it over and over, knowledge, skills, and abilities that we believe help deliver on that. You guys have been through the education for the CFP program, so we know you know all about those registered programs. So I want to just touch on that. We know that there's a ton of available choices, right? So that was probably part of the process when you started, I'm sure, of the folks that we have online. I'm sure we've got a variety of folks that either went through a school program, getting their bachelor's, or went through their own independent program on their own, or did some test prep or exam prep. There's some great ones out there. There's a handful of folks that dominate the industry, but also a ton of other providers that can help with the curriculum and work through that. We'll talk in a bit how our Investments in Wealth Institute programs are a bit different than that. The choices are a little bit easier to choose, and we certainly have a very curated list of folks that we work with, and Ivy League quality folks and top business schools that we work with. So certainly that makes your due diligence and your process for choosing a program much, much easier. So who are we? Who is the Investments in Wealth Institute? Where did we come from? How do we start? I won't belabor going down all the memory lanes, but certainly giving you a little bit of feedback that the Institute started in the mid-'80s, in 1985, with a group of folks, probably a lot like yourselves, that said, hey, we are driven to do better. We want to do better. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to challenge the industry to continue to grow. And this particular group of folks said, we think we can do a better job with portfolio construction and investment consulting. So how do we do that? How do we formalize that? How do we make sure that there's some type of rubric that says, hey, what are the knowledge, skills, and ability required to do this role and do it well? In fact, how do we certify that folks actually know these rules and requirements, that what we believe are part of that? So they survey the industry, they look for subject matter experts, they work with academics and professionals and practitioners in the same way that the CFP curriculum was built. And so that's something that's important for us. We are a nonprofit organization. We're based right there in Denver, Colorado. We've got a lot of folks on the line that are in Denver, our folks in Chicago. We got some folks in Boston today and all over. I'm just north of Dallas, Texas, where it is a fantastic, beautiful day today. I hope your fall day is as wonderful as it is here in Dallas, because it's a peach of a day. But we're ran by a board of directors that are very important to us, that help lead our programs, that help lead the direction of the organization. They make very critical decisions. So you're not dealing with a for-profit person that's driven by one individual. We have that board of directors, that nonprofit, all with how do we serve our members? How do we serve our certificates and our candidates better? How do we make sure to provide them in the industry and increase the professionalism of the industry? We have groups of commissioners for our certifications. We have an expert faculty network to lean on, all those things that we believe are very important and we hold very near and dear. All right, think of this. If you want to take a look, you can write down 3 words: investments, wealth, and retirement. Those 3 words, you're going to hear a theme as we move through. You can see this on your screen. Certainly, we believe that the folks that come to the Institute are typically driven. They're typically hardworking folks. Typically, we see folks with fantastic businesses and practices. We see corporate and home office leadership folks and management teams and regional directors and managers and folks that are leading teams and support folks that are supporting fantastic advisors in the marketplace and serving their clients. Those 3 themes, you'll hear that. If you want to write that down: investments, wealth, and retirement. Those are the 3 things that we'll make sure to chat about today. And as we're chatting and going through the material, like we said, you got Q&A. Feel free to shoot your questions into the Q&A box. We've got folks across the country that are on the webinar today that can help us monitor that. So we want to make sure to do a good job for you today and answer all your questions. And certainly, we'll have telephone numbers and emails at the end if you want to set up a private time to have a question. If it's like, hey, this is a sensitive topic, this is a more personal question, I want to just have a one-on-one with somebody, we'll make sure to show you that as well. Here's our CEO, Sean Walters. Sean's been leading the organization as CEO and reporting to our board of directors for, almost a decade and a half, a long time leader for the organization with lots of years left, full of vim and vigor. We're so proud to have Sean driving the future of the organization with our board of directors, our commissioners, our volunteers, folks at our expert faculty network. All those things helping to push and pull through to make sure this is better for you. If you look at here, if we look and take a look at, for Sean, that strong belief system, right? What is the true belief thing? What do you truly believe is most important? And I love how Sean's quote here, where he talks about that strong belief and that value of technical knowledge, right? And how that can be incorporated by that active advisor, that practical and applicable knowledge. But he says, taking your business to the next level, and you can see this in yellow on the screen, requires a more technical level of expertise than ever before, right? And it's important to get the strategies and skills needed to compete in today's business climate. My goodness, we understand when you talk with clients, aren't clients, they seem like they're more educated and more knowledgeable than ever, right? And that progresses, you're working with folks that have access to information and have so many wonderful resources available. They've increased the level of their knowledge. They've increased the level of their expectations, right? What does truly that client engagement look like and feel like? And certainly folks in our business have done a great job honing their skills, right? Increasing the expectation of what it means to work with a financial planner, increasing the expectation of what it means to work with a team, to work with a solo practitioner, to work with a group of folks that can deliver on those expectations, help them drive outcomes, right? And help those clients take the actions they need to be successful. So we love that, and so proud of our leadership and direction that Sean's heading us in. So let's get into the certifications. I know, my goodness, I've been chatting for 10 or 12 minutes already, and let's get down to it. Let's talk about certifications. This is the fun stuff. This is where I live every day, and working on these 3 programs. So we said earlier the 3 words: investments, wealth, and retirement. If you look at this list of certified investment management analysts, we nickname that CIMA, right? CIMA or CIMA. That is all about the Certified Investment Management Analyst program, excuse me, focused on that portfolio construction piece, that investment consulting. That is our first designation that was launched in the 80s. We lovingly think of the CIMA as the matriarch of the family. She's the grandmother that's been around the longest. She's the base, the foundation of our organization. We have thousands of CIMAs across the country and around the world that have taken the program and are certified investment management analysts, and we hold that very dear to our heart. Now members, these are folks that are really started and drove the program in the early 80s and 90s. I was fortunate enough to become go through the program in 2000, in the mid 2000s, and loved the program and just fell in love with the Institute. And from that group of folks that were really trying to increase that level of professionalism, push the industry further, then was born the CPWA, the Certified Private Wealth Advisor. That group of CIMA folks, then imagine in the early 2000s what the industry was like. Imagine how things were evolving, shifting from commission to advisory, seeing more holistic practices come to play, seeing more certified financial planner professionals in the marketplace, pushing the industry to do better, right? You folks and your teams and the folks that are probably in your firms that have that history of the CFP that goes way back, right? Looking for more. How do we deliver more? And the feedback of those folks in the early 2000s was, my goodness, it's great to talk about investments. It's great to build great investment portfolios, but what are we doing for tax planning? What are we doing for charitable giving? And my goodness, this blossoming and blooming understanding of behavioral finance, right, and behavioral economics, and how this impacts how you talk with clients and how you work with clients and how you overcome obstacles and roadblocks in those relationships and those client meetings, that including that as a big part of that CPWA program. But not only that, those 3 folks that we think of are the closely held business owner, right? That 25, 50, 70, you have $100 million business that's being sold, and you're shifting from taking that CEO from the CEO of their business to the CEO of their wealth, right? And that takes a different approach. That takes a unique set of skills. Certainly, remember the KSA, knowledge, skills, and abilities. That Certified Private Wealth Advisor, as we think of as our working mother of the organization. The CPWA by far right now is getting so much interest, so much enthusiasm. That's really focused on, we think of, for us, the high net worth client, typically what we would define as the $5 million and up. In that space, those skills, how would you build trust? How do you understand charitable giving? What kind of estate planning needs are unique? But it also addresses the high income client, right? So maybe they're not quite yet to 5 million, but they're that executive with company stock options, right? And you're trying to look at some of their old ISOs or non-qualifieds, and then some of their new RSUs, right? And how the world has evolved. And should I do this 83B election? What's the tax impact of those things? They may not yet be a $5 or $10 million net worth client, but they certainly could be a $750, $1 million, $1.5 million income client that has those very challenging and complex needs, that you certainly need technical knowledge to help navigate. You don't need to be the tax preparer, but certainly what we see in the marketplace for CPAs and attorneys, there is an opportunity for the wealth advisor to play a critical role, right? There are gaps in the marketplace. There are gaps in those relationships. And not every one of your clients has the very best tax person, has the very best attorney, has the very best advisor outside of your support and your recommendations. So you being able to bring that knowledge and skills, we love that. Well, certainly the retirement management advisor, I see that we have a little spelling error there. It should be retirement management advisor. Not sure how that word got in there, but retirement management advisor we think of as an important part of our program when we look at that retirement, or excuse me, investments, wealth, and retirement. And we'll talk more about what RMA is and where that is in the life cycle. Just like CFP, the CFP board and the CFP program, they care very much about accreditation and standards. So does the Institute. So we hold our programs to very high expectations. Both the CIMA and the CPWA today are fully accredited. This ANAB ANSI National Accreditation Board for both CIMA and CPWA is what we consider a very important thing, a very big deal. It says that we have the processes and procedures and standards to hold this certification program, hold the education, the exam, the full process from start to finish, hold it at the highest standards, and that a third party can check those boxes and give us green check marks. That this is an organization and a certification and credentialing body that's delivering this and delivering and fulfilling its promises and purpose to you as a candidate and as a certificant. And certainly as you look to earn those designations, I did my CIMA designation in 2006, my CPWA in 2016. I care very much, right, about the professionalism and the value and how those certifications are handled today and how they will be handled in the future, because that's the continued mark of excellence that I care very much about. And certainly we know that our 15,000 members across the country and across the globe care very much about that as well. And so we love that we have that in common and that we can share those important points with you. All right, let's dig in a little bit. So the CFP you're familiar with, you have the knowledge topics. Certainly, if you've passed and been successful on the exam, you probably knew the knowledge topics very well. And certainly if you've gone to an education provider that teaches to those knowledge about topics, or an exam prep provider that teaches you to those things, you know how important that is. We have the same, what we call a core body of knowledge as well for our certifications that we care very much about. But this is that framework. You guys know what this is like. You guys know how important this is. We value this very much. This is that framework that starts with that, what does a job task analysis look like? How do we build those surveys to our industry experts, our subject matter experts, the practitioners, the advisors, the folks doing the work, saying, hey, what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to do this role, whether that's investments, wealth, or retirement? What are those knowledge, skills, and abilities? And certainly our curriculum is very much focused on that, how we educate our candidates to prepare them for the exams, how do we monitor our pass rates that we care very much about, and that we want folks to be successful on the exam so they can take that out into their world and utilize those skills and their practices. Our board of directors, our commission for each of our certifications helps drive that process and cares very much about that. All right, so CIMA, the CIMA, this is investments. If you look on the screen, this is our core curriculum. These 5 so very important, so very wonderful things that we care very much about. This is driving you through this program. So at a high level, these are the 5 things running through the CMA curriculum that you are expected to learn and process and be tested on. If you want to dig deeper into all these things, we have a group of folks, and I know today and the next couple of days, Carrie Estes and Gray Bullet will have their contact information at the end of the call. They're available. I know as well they're on the call today if you're sending in Q&A questions, where they can, if you want to say, hey, I'd love to see this core body of knowledge that Mike is talking about. I'd love to see more specifics. Hey, I see the 5 bubbles on the screen, but is that really enough? No, of course it's not. We've got details for all of those things, super details for each one of those, what we think of as domain topics, that core curriculum that walks through each of those knowledge statements. But digging into that CMA portion, what we see the folks that are most interested in CMA are the folks really focused on how do we build better portfolios? And how do we drive better outcomes and better results for the client over time, whether that be through behavioral finance, whether that be through manager search and selection, whether that be if you're a firm that needs to formalize their due diligence process, right? If you're an independent solo practitioner that just says, gosh, I'm looking at mutual funds and ETFs on the daily, but I'd like to be just a little better at selecting that ETF. I want to be able to say when I meet with the external wholesaler in my office, or now, my goodness, most folks are just Zoom calls like this. If I meet with that person over a Zoom or I get that fact sheet, how can I truly match up what they're telling me in the story to what the numbers are telling me? And how do I flesh out what that process should be? We're seeing a lot of folks that are in that maybe support level, maybe not the CEO since they're super busy, but maybe that person that's in the support level, building portfolios or trading portfolios or rebalancing, part of that, or leading that research and development. See a lot of folks at the home office level or the corporate level that are saying, gosh, we need not just to understand, some of the deep things, that may be around an individual stock or what book value is. Those things are, could be important if you're trading a lot of stocks, but how do we put all these in an ensemble cast, right? How do we build ETFs and mutual funds and all these strategies, right? Private equity and private debt. How do we build that in? Private real estate. Now, how is this built into this overall portfolio? If you're a firm that outsources your investment management, you may say, hey, gosh, problem done, right? I'm outsourcing that, but we still have an expectation and a compliance requirement. How do we do, what are the roles that we're doing to do due diligence on the folks that are managing our money? How do we make sure that the stories that we're getting told from our TAMP, from our outsourced CIO, if you're using one of those, how do we reconcile that message? How do we reconcile the data to make sure they're doing the job that they're being paid to do, right? They're being sure that they're not putting you at a place that's at a disadvantage with your clients, to make sure they're doing the best job they possibly can, and certainly doing a good job for you and for your clients. So that certainly, if you're working with a TAMP, this can help you do due diligence, manager search and selection, help you understand the mandates for individual asset classes. How do you set that up? How do you then decide, what is a database of 20,000 mutual funds and thousands of ETFs? How do we narrow this in to a pool of folks that fit the mandate of what we're asking for this particular asset class, this particular strategy, this type of investment for this model portfolio? So we love the CMA. If you're thinking about, gosh, okay, Mike, you told me all about the CMA. I'm interested. I'm curious. How in the world do I do it? These are three very simple steps. I know you're going to have more questions than what we put on the screen. That's what our enrollment counselors can help with, walk through that. But certainly, if you imagine that experience, certainly there is that self-study, right? That's watching videos, that's being on webinar calls, that's getting into the case studies, that's getting to the material, that's doing some practice problems. Certainly that executive education piece is now that next level up, right? Getting you ready for that comprehensive exam that tests you on all those knowledge topics, all those knowledge statements. You know what a comprehensive exam is like. You've taken a tough one and you've been successful. So this is that similar process. We're doing the work, getting some executive education either recorded that you can watch on demand at any time, or some of the programs are live online or live and in person. We'll show you that, and then ending with a comprehensive certified, comprehensive certification exam. So make sure if you have Q&A, feel free to send it in to the Q&A chat box. We'll make sure to answer some questions live as well as at the end. So if we have questions, our panel of folks that are looking at the Q&A, if there's things that they want to pass along that they can't answer, if they feel like this is a good question to send out, they'll pass that along, and we'll make sure to answer those once we get to the end. We talked earlier about being familiar with the certified financial planning programs that are available, right? And that huge list of hundreds of folks, even though it may be kind of dominated by a few. You can see on your screen, SEMA, we have 2 wonderful providers of education. So first is that Yale University. That total cost, you see the total program cost includes all your application fees and as part of that. And then with that Yale School of Management, that's 100% online, 100% on demand. You can watch it anytime, anywhere. A lot of flexibility in that program. Chicago Booth is also super flexible. They do that self-study that's online. They do have live programs. So if you want to sit and listen to a live in session and have some opportunity to do some Q&A, some more interactive webinars, University of Chicago, their Chicago Booth program is fantastic. And the 2-day program at the end can be in person, or they also offer an online class. So if you're not the traveling type, or travel is just more difficult, than it should be, then you can certainly look at doing those as well. Let's take a look here. As we move through the CPWA program, right, this is the one focused on that high net worth client, that 5 million and up for assets, or that high income client. Certainly that human dynamics is all about behavioral finance. It digs into family dynamics, right? It digs into what are the issues around intergenerational wealth, right? Understanding that wealth management, remember, it's not just wealth management, it's wealth management technical design. And what you'll hear me say over and over as we go through the program, because we help deliver these programs, big blocks, little blocks, and grains of sand. As you think about the knowledge base, that big blocks is maybe that conversational understanding where you can sit in a conversation and you can kind of hold your own. The folks at the Institute tease me because I'm not a big sports fan. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I'm kind of a big block sports guy, right? I can almost kind of pretend enough that I get along with the conversation. I can, I can pay a little bit of attention. The little blocks are then truly actually knowing what's going on in the world of sports and understanding every day what's happening, and the small details are knowing the players' names and knowing the colleges they went to and knowing the position they played and the injuries they have, right? With this CPWA, it's not just big blocks. That's an introduction and an overview. It's more than just little blocks. That's just kind of, I'm digging into some of the details. This is truly digging into the grains of sand that are there and expected for you to truly know this material, so that when you're sitting around a boardroom or sitting on a Zoom call with an attorney and a CPA, you can help steer that conversation. You can help lead that conversation. This is more than you taking notes and listening and hoping everything gets right. This is you actually being there. And we hear over and over and over from our CPWA candidates that finish the program and then go into client meetings with other advisors of the client. And they say, my goodness, Mike, my goodness, I had to correct them. I said, no, shouldn't we be doing this? And they're like, well, we could. Well, the client's goal is this. If this is the client's goal, should we not be going down this path? And then, well, yeah, and the feedback is, well, yeah, that's the path. Then that's where we go. You are in that position truly to most delicately and intimately understand those clients' goals. Remember, those not just objectives, but the promises they've made to themselves and their families. You're in that role, and we believe CPWA can do that in a very specific way, all about digging into that knowledge base, right? Legacy issues, charitable giving, estate planning. We talk about specialty clients. That's the high net worth retiree. That's the closely held business owner that we mentioned earlier, that 25, 50, 70, you have $100 million CEO that's moving from CEO of what? CEO of their business to where? CEO of their wealth, right? They may even be serial CEOs, where they sell this big chunk, put $100 million in a portfolio for you to manage and run, and now this thing's suddenly involved with foundations and charitable giving, and then they go purchase another business, or they take that money and start a new business. We certainly know and work with those entrepreneurs that do that. How can you then be that person that has the strength to keep up, right? that you've earned a spot on the team, right? Because you have the strength and the muscle mass to carry the weight, and you've earned your spot on the team. And we believe CPWA is a big part of that. All right, very similar structure and very similar approach to starting and getting through the program. Certainly it starts with, once you get an application through and you get approved, self-study, and then executive education and exam. Again, that executive education could look like online videos. It could be on demand. It could be live in person. We'll show you what that looks like with our different providers. You see, again, hopefully now you remember these names. SEMA, we had Yale and Chicago booth. CPWA, we also have Yale and Chicago booth. Similar approaches, similar discussion. Yale, again, is 100% online, and not just online, 100% on demand, right? So you don't have to worry about, hey, do I have to be ready for a noon call or a 6 p.m. call? Not at all. Everything's on demand and recorded for you. You see both programs at the $7,295 cost. And then University of Chicago, that Chicago booth program that is that self-study portion that ends with 4 days live in person in Chicago. I'm very fortunate to be very involved in that program. Just got back just a couple of weeks ago from Chicago booth, and it was fantastic. My goodness, we are just so lucky that the Institute attracts such driven and dedicated professionals. We had an entire lecture hall full of folks that are at the top of their game and working hard and very driven, and the great conversations, great interaction. We're there. It's a little bit like camp, right? It's like going to camp for a few days. So intensive, just really does a great job of getting you through, right? We're there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We get to know you guys. We're cheering for our candidates to get through the program and have success. And certainly that first couple of weeks after a program where folks are scheduling their exams and getting those feedback of being successful and hearing that, we love that. But again, I know you have more detailed questions. I know you're like, whoa, this is just kind of breaking the egg, Mike, and getting started. Absolutely. This is where now you would say, gosh, I want to talk with one of our enrollment counselors, and we'll show you what that looks like. Now, remember the 3 words, hopefully, that you wrote down: investments, wealth, retirement. Now here is retirement, our RMA program. We talked about RMA. RMA is our youngest program, right? The evolution of the marketplace, the revolution almost of the world of retirement income planning. What we've seen with that is, my goodness, the last 10 years, this has really gone from something that didn't exist 20 years ago to a focus, and we've seen more focus on holistic financial planning. We've seen more focus on building financial plans. We've seen more focus on this whole wave of folks and clients and advisors that have grown up with their clients, right? We have such wonderful RMA candidates that tell us these stories about, hey, Mike, I'm building a retirement income plan for one of my early clients, and they've been clients for 25 years. And now they're getting to this retirement income stage. And guess what? The conversations that we've had for 25 years have to change. The things that we focus on for 25 years now have to change. And we believe the RMA really is that key that unlocks that retirement income planning focus, that gives you additional skills, additional strengths for you to overcome what we believe are some true obstacles, some true roadblocks, true risks that happen when you now shift from the accumulation, the work phase, to those early retirement years, and those understanding those different phases all the way through, the fun early phase, that middle phase, that where you slow down a bit, and certainly the elder phase where you're like, my goodness, I need to have been prepared for long-term care. I need to have been prepared for changes in life, health shocks, all the things. How do we build that retirement income plan that we believe should be both reliable consistent, sustainable. Those are the things that we have to do. And certainly in that growing a portfolio for that 30, 40, 50-year-old, we're like, hey, we only need a little bit of diversification, some asset allocation, rebalance that portfolio, and we're good. And that works with TAMPs, that works with outsourced things, that works with just taking a portfolio and putting it in a balance fund. You can get a lot of benefit from that. But now once you flip the switch and you're taking that income out of the portfolio, right? Understanding, do we have enough? What is our number? That number 2 there, you see retirement readiness and funding ratios. Where is the client at today? Where do they sit? Do they actually have the pile of money necessary to fill their obligations for future income needs? One of our commission members, Roger Whitney, he's a longtime RMA professional, and I love what Roger says. He's got a practice here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I love what he says. He says, when we shift from our working years to retirement, we lose our superpower. And what is that superpower? It's that regular paycheck, right? It's that income coming in twice a month or once a month, like that paycheck, that payroll getting processed. We lose our superpower. And my goodness, if you've worked with clients that transition through that period, it can be an enormous psychological change. It can be an enormous behavioral finance minefield for you to navigate. We deal with that in the RMA curriculum, and then creating that process over the top of how you get folks through that, how you truly get to, what's our account allocation, our asset location, how are we building these things, what's our distribution policy, and how does all of this address the risks that are unique to this household, unique to this client? Because no longer is it enough just diversification, asset allocation, rebalancing, because there's specific things for this client and the risks that we must address. And certainly that number 4 that you see on the screen, how do we wrap this all up in that retirement policy statement or an RPS? If you're familiar with an IPS, that's the curriculum that we talk about in the SEMA designations, investments. RMA, we dig deep into the RPS, even going through case studies. You have an RPS builder that helps build that from scratch, getting that material, taking you, the advisors, through that process so that you can then effectuate that for your client. We love that. Hopefully by now this screen looks familiar. You should say, my gosh, Mike, I've seen this screen now 3 times. And you're right. You're absolutely right. This is the application, then self-study, executive education exam. Sometimes we call executive education a capstone, but it's that certainly that self-study portion of how do we dig into the material, right? Get our hands dirty. We're flipping pages. We're highlighting. We're putting sticky notes on things, or we're scrolling through the screens online, or right-clicking and copying. We're making notes. And then that executive education, how do we wrap this all together at this higher cognitive level and take something that just exists on the page or in a short video or in some bullet points or in a knowledge check or quiz? How do we take that information and now deliver it to you in a way that you go, aha, I just had a moment. I just had the aha moment, and now I'm ready. That's what we hope with our executive education and our capstone. And certainly that curriculum review, to review the curriculum and the material, just like you did for your CFP program, getting that exam readiness on the schedule so that you can be successful in that comprehensive certification exam. You've got 2 choices when it comes to RMA. Certainly this on the left, 100% online. We do add to that live office session so that you can talk with the faculty and better understand navigating the curriculum and getting through that, along with those reviews, that curriculum review. So you can say, gosh, I know I get this when I watch the video. I know I get it when I read the books and I take the quizzes and the knowledge checks and the case studies are helping, but I just want to talk with a human just a little bit. I just want to engage with a human being for just a little bit. And I think it will all come clear. And that's what we do with us live office sessions and live reviews, even on that left side, that fully online program. That's an option for you, not a requirement, but certainly an option. We do the same thing on the right side, similar self-study program, and it ends with a 2-day in person. We are about to, in the next 60 days, launch our 2023 dates. but certainly look on that right side, that a program that will start in January and end in the first 2 days in May in beautiful San Diego. So you can kind of be thinking about that as well. We're super excited to go to San Diego in early May. It's San Diego almost anytime is fantastic, but early May has to be a bit of a treasure. So we're certainly looking forward to that. What we love about looking at the CFP board, that diversity and inclusion, how do we continue to push the organizations in our industry to make sure we grow this professionalism, that we're serving all clients better. Here at the Institute, we have a foundation that delivers on scholarships, as well as takes in donations from folks that are tax deductible. But if you're curious and saying, hey, my goodness, Mike, I would love to be able to look for a little bit of help on our program, you can visit our website. You can go to the website here, investmentsandwealth.org, and that foundation-scholarship. Certainly our enrollment counselors are very familiar with our foundation and our scholarships that are available. You can see all the eligibility things that are on there. If you're saying, gosh, am I eligible? We certainly would encourage you to investigate. We are certainly waving the flag for more folks to say, hey, come on over, fill out a form, and send in your scholarship requests. And certainly that's something that's important to us. We want to help support that initiative as well. So how do you do all this? It's an all-in-online application. So SEMA, CPWA, and RMA. I just have a screenshot of one, but you can go straight to the investmentsandwealth.org website. Right here under certifications, there's a place where you can click and go to application and click apply, and you do everything online. You put your, you use your favorite email, you type in a password, you can go through the process, click a few buttons, pick your program, which program you want, and you're ready to go. It's just that easy. And now you can just kind of, we've spent some time together. We spent, about 43 minutes together. Now you can just imagine, like, which one of these fits me? Which one of these makes sense? Certainly you can reach out to our enrollment counselors. We've got tons of resources available online to our members. We do thousands of listens for podcasts. We have journals and research that are available to our members. Our blogs, our knowledge centers, webinars, all those different things. All of CFP. I'm an active CFP again. A practitioner again, and so having CE hours available. Each one of our programs offers that 28 hours of continuing education for certified financial planning professionals. So that's a bonus. And if you want to take a screenshot of this, certainly you can do that as well. If you want to take a screenshot, you got telephone numbers, emails. I'm going to be available for about the next 30 minutes or so. Before I have another meeting, that if you want to give me a call, you can see my number there. Certainly, Gray and Carrie could be available as well, and that would be an opportunity for you. We got a couple questions. So the question here looks like, depending on the client's needs, which one of the CPWA or SEMA is more impressive? That's an interesting question. Good question. Yeah, so it depends on, I think, where do you want to apply the knowledge, right? What skills do you want to learn? Certainly, if you are a person that has strong investment background already, you may look at the SEMA and go, well, this is things that I feel like I've studied, I know, and I don't need any further knowledge. So that's a choice you can make. And then you may be saying, gosh, I don't know much about charitable giving, estate planning, stock options for my executives, or quite honestly, I have no idea how to have a conversation with a business owner that's selling his business for 5 million or 10 million or 15 million. I don't even know the questions to ask. I don't even know how to understand the conversation that's happening with the CPA and the attorney, how to help navigate that, how that translates into ideas that I could be contributing to this conversation. So certainly that is an important part of it. Some questions some folks we get is, hey, if I'm already a certified financial planner, practitioner, professional, Does that kind of clep me out of all the education or a big chunk of education, or does that give me already a whole bunch of check marks in the education? Good question. So there's a small amount of overlap in both SEMA and CPWA, and quite honestly, RMA programs. There's a small amount of overlap that's in each program. So yeah, the great benefit is if you're a CFP coming into those programs, you've got a leg up, right? It's going to be more familiar. You're going to be able to get through the material and get to the more technical parts sooner, so you can spend more time on the truly difficult parts. You can spend more time on the deeper concepts. You can spend more of that time truly going through the case studies and kind of workshopping that material, versus for the folks that aren't CFPs, they really do have to start from scratch. And so the number of hours they might have to spend with the material may be increased. So you certainly have that advantage. But it doesn't, the SEMA and CPWA programs were not built to be a replication of the CFP program. So hopefully that makes sense, right? When both of these were launched and how they evolved over the years, we're not trying to take a designation and say, oh, you got this other designation, well, come here and you've done 80% of the work and this is just 20% extra. Not at all. That's not what we're trying to build. We don't feel like that adds a lot of value to the marketplace or to the candidates. So we do feel very much that wonderful that you have that strength, wonderful that you have that history, wonderful that you have that knowledge base, that foundation. Now, how do we build on top of it, right? How do we take this and add to it, build on top of it, and continue to grow our strengths? So hopefully that helps as you guys are moving through. So I know we've had a great presentation. We've got, as we mentioned, you've got the information on the screen. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a certified financial planner professional. Thank you for challenging yourself and trying to make sure that you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to help clients as best that you can. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you being here. And again, we look forward to talking with you all very soon, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.